Do you use the past to hold yourself back? Well, I want to talk to you and I want to talk about it. Hey, I'm Alfie. So let's go through how life works for sort of more normal people, right? They'll have experiences as a child that they should be having, like meeting mean children, or they'll be going to school and they'll be making new friends. They'll make random friends just for a day at the playground, and they'll be taken care of by their parents. They'll be exposed to new things relatively often. They'll be taught how to handle themselves. And as they go through teenagehood, they'll have some crazy moments. Puberty is crazy time for everyone. There's loads of hormones involved. They'll have breakups. They'll meet the love of their life. They'll lose the love of their life. And then they'll go through adulthood and they'll have the experiences and the tools to manage things healthily. They'll be able to sort of engage with people in a healthier manner. They'll be able to make friends relatively easily. They'll be able to advance their career relatively simply. There's a lot of things they may not respect that they were taught as children and through their sort of social circle to do that are relatively normal, like save responsibly, advance their career, go on holiday, respect their mental health, and manage things relatively okay. Now there's a lot of steps in there, but hopefully you can see that as they go through life, one thing does build upon another. And people know this very intuitively, but they don't really make choices considering it. But if you had issues in those earlier years...
Hey, this video is going to be going over like mental health sort of stuff, talking about the past and sort of how things might affect the future because of it. If you're not in the mood for that sort of thing right now, don't know why I clicked on the video, but probably best to leave.
The same thing is true for you. One thing builds on top of another. Perhaps you had a terrible home life, perhaps you had a terrible school life, where perhaps experiences that you should have been taught weren't taught to you. Normal things that weren't normal were taught to you. Perhaps you had more responsibility that you should have been having. Perhaps you were called awful names from parents, or someone was in a position they shouldn't have been in and they weren't very nice to you as a child or teenager. And then those things build as they go into teenagehood. Perhaps there's going to be experiences that they either don't know how to handle well, so they're going to have crazy emotions during it. They're going to accept behaviors from people that they perhaps shouldn't be accepting. They're going to be attracted to things they shouldn't be attracted to. They're going to think things are normal because they're getting maybe a validation, but that shouldn't be treated as normal. And the stakes start getting higher as you go into teenagehood. So perhaps really crazy things will happen. Perhaps there's going to be a breakup where someone does something crazy. Perhaps there's going to be toxic behaviors, more extreme toxic behaviors that happen. And then they go into adulthood and they haven't got those tools, not all of them, to sort of manage themselves well, manage society well, and manage life well. So there's going to be things they're missing on. Whether that's being able to try new things, whether that's being able to try new foods. Food's really common as an issue to have if you had issues in sort of being adventurous as a child. Not all of them, some people just are picky eaters. But all their career, basically, as they reach adulthood, a lot of people sort of take that same staticness that other people, normal people, can have, where they don't really have to think about anything. They've got their lot in life, they've got their tools, and they're just going to coast until death. And that coasting will treat normal people as basically fine. They're going to be happy for it and they're going to live a good life. But people who have had issues perhaps don't. They're basically just trying to coast and do their best, which is fine. And they start to paint themselves into a corner. But not all people. Some people take it out on other people. I don't like those people. But some people paint themselves into a corner. They paint their little silhouette like a noir movie, and then they sort of stay there. Those issues that they happened in childhood and teenagehood, they defined them. Those things that were taught to them or not taught to them, they're for other people. They can't do them. They don't know how to do them. And there's no need for any of this, right? So a good example on the teaching part is university. If you are from a family where people didn't go to university, chances are neither are you. That's something for other people. Careers, if you don't know how to sort of get qualifications, get a good career, make money for yourself, then you just don't know it. That's for other people. Other people just are naturally born with this sort of information. They're not, but they're given it as a child, and perhaps that wasn't given to you. Or It's very common for people to have like parts of life they'll cut off. They'll really struggle to make new friends, or they won't let anyone close to them, for things like that. That's all very normal things if you've gone through issues. When there's not necessarily any need. You see, in a way, they're correct, in the sense that they are who they are. But that doesn't mean they're static. They don't have to be static. As an adult, you get to choose what you do. You get to choose what you work on. And to be clear, I'm trying to give motivation with this whole video. But if you've got these sort of issues, go to therapy. It's very simple. I would, go to therapy. I'm not trying to fix that. But there's a lot of people who paint themselves into a corner, sometimes with very restrictive and rigid boundaries. They paint themselves as if that corner can never be expanded upon or left. And if they're happy, that's fine. If you're happy there, stay there. Have a happy life, that's fine. But there's a lot of people who do this rigid painting who aren't as happy as perhaps they tell themselves. They're stuck in a career they do not like. They're stuck in a job with managers and people around them they do not like. They only have a certain amount of support group, and that support group is not expanding. So as people leave, which has happened, which is normal, right? So people will leave, and that support group is going to shrink and shrink and shrink until it's just them left. And it's all very scary. And then that's going to cause more issues. Perhaps they start going into abusing drugs and stuff. Perhaps they start expanding into hobbies that perhaps they shouldn't be expanding into, or aren't treating them well, or feed their unhealthiest mental issues. Or one I've seen is they'll go on the crazy impulsive adventures sometimes that are missing those things that are outside their boundaries. But then they realize they've stepped outside their comfort zone, and they sort of shrink back and they get scared, or they make mistakes, and it sort of reinforces their low self-esteem. See, the people who make those rigid boundaries, chances are they've got a low self-esteem. The people who take it out on other people, they might have a low self-esteem in the core of themselves, but it's a less of an issue there. But yeah, as they make mistakes, that rigid boundary gets more and more reinforced. So what am I suggesting people do? Take a step out, right? So pick something that you were never going to be taught as a child. So perhaps that's stocks and shares and stuff. Little tangent, pet peeve. Because of the way that things are taught to you as a child, a lot of these issues will basically put you on the back foot for the rest of your life. The earlier you start stocks and saving responsibly and this sort of stuff, the more you get. The earlier you start treating your career more seriously, the further you can get. And so by having these issues, often your life trajectory is just on a lower scale in terms of money. But money is important, right? Money is important for everything in life. So it's important to respect that. Anyway, that's pet peeve. But yeah, so if you're in a job that you don't like, perhaps just look into qualifications and look into when the next test day is. And look into night classes. That they do exist. People, even if you've got a busy work schedule, you could probably find time to either revise or learn and get those qualifications you need. If you have issues with other people, if that's where your issues come from, then perhaps you need to take a chance and step outside just a little when you can with people you can trust a bit more. And respect where you've come from, right? So I'm not saying believe in yourself, everyone can do it, it'll be fine. It will be fine, and over time you'll adapt and you'll get the tools that you need and weren't taught to you or weren't given to you. And you will reduce the tools that were given to you that shouldn't have been given to you, like trusting people and not seeing red flags and all this sort of stuff. Or taking the blame upon yourself, that's a very common one. And those things will lower and lower and lower as you sort of expose yourself. It's just like any fear, really. The more you expose yourself to healthier habits and behaviours, the more you'll be able to handle them and have the mindset and the tools to do so. But you need to accept also that you are coming from a place where you do have issues. So you need to be able to analyse yourself sometimes, look for the early warning signs of I'm about to have a blow up, or something's about to go down, or I'm about to give up on yourself. And take a chill pill, take a step back. How do you work around that? And don't accept it as a fate. You always have a choice. If you see those early warning signs, you need to back off. You need to work around it, work with it. respect where you've come from, respect the life that's got you to this point where you need to take things a bit slower and a bit more cautiously, and respect yourself. And sometimes you will fuck up. Sometimes your issues will be things that you will fuck up on. But taking that step occasionally and seeing what happens and analysing afterwards. Alright, so I did this, right? I did this differently this time. How did that change how I acted and how I felt? And trying to work out not the best way to do things, but trying to detach just a little bit and analyse yourself. And in terms of going forward, also I would say try things that you've never tried before that you know were never going to be given to you, like hobbies or holidays or travel or things like that. It's going to be very common for people with these sort of issues to either not know how to travel abroad, be scared of planes, be scared of trains, be scared of anything. A lot of things that are normal to other people, right, just aren't as normal for these people. And that's okay. You just need to work on it, one step at a time. And accept that some hobbies, I'm saying basically try new hobbies. That's a big one. Accept some things you won't like. But the more things you know you don't like, and the more things you try and do like, both of those give you more of an identity that's your own. See, there's two ways the past can control you. Either you please it or you avoid it. And by living with the past and the life that's given to you, if it's a past that you don't like, then you are pleasing it. You are living the same life that you were given. Live your own life. Take that step out and try new things.
Alright, so Editor Alfie wanted me to make some clarifications, so I thought I might as well, because it's quite an important video for me at least. So, if you've had these issues growing up, all through your teenage years, you probably know what chaos is. So, that can range from depressing, where you're either with a partner or a friendship group, and you kind of know, but you kind of pretend you don't know, that none of them are there for you. You're kind of just there, and you kind of just exist. That's the depressing side, kind of boring side. Or you might have experienced the more exciting side. It's exciting, it's fucking depressing in its own way. Where you've got a partner who is always late or... to be clear, you could be on either side of this example and be basically having the same issues. So your partner's either always late or you're always getting in trouble with your partner when you're late. You don't know why, but you get crazy calls or you give crazy calls. No, I'm trying to both sides this. Alright, I'll give one person's side. You're always calling your partner because they're slightly late or they're doing normal things, but you get emotionally dysregulated, so you start to get a bit crazy. Your friends are perhaps not the best influence on you. Some of them have convinced you to sell things that are less than legal, which is giving you good money, but your partner's spending all that money because they've got their own financial habits that are fucking annoying. You're getting threatened with eviction from your landlord for pets that you aren't really meant to have. And your life is just filled with drama from people cheating on each other, from people hurting each other, arguments, fights. Maybe the police are getting involved, and it's all a whole thing. And perhaps this is relatively similar to the environment that we're talking about from before. Perhaps it's not, perhaps it's just the effects of that life before, and how you don't really know how to handle things in a more safe, calm, let's say mature manner. And that's okay. None of that's an issue. But if you've had those lives, if you've started to put in those strict boundaries, there is one thing that it gives you, and that's stability. And I don't want any of this video to come across like I am disrespecting that. Okay, stability is super important, especially for the people who have these sort of issues. It's so much better than the chaos, in my opinion. And no part of this is me telling you to throw it all away. I'm just saying, learn to expand those boundaries step by step. Use it as a launch pad, not as a controlled destination, right? Use it as a safety blanket, not as a straitjacket. Yeah? And I also want to make clarification that it's easy to come away with this thinking that people who had just healthier growing up, healthier childhoods, perhaps they weren't odd, perhaps they didn't have any issues, and they can coast. Those people, it's easy to come away thinking they basically just have perfect, normal lives. But it's not really true. As I said, they're coasting. The problem with coasting is you don't know your own direction. Okay? You're not in control. They'll have their own sort of issues where perhaps due to the flow of life, they start going on dates with someone. They've had too many dates now, so now they're the girlfriend. They've had the same girlfriend for a while now, so now they're going to get married. They've had the marriage or girlfriend for a while now, so now they're going to have kids. And then something will happen, something unexpected, probably a death. That's probably a pretty common one that like kicks this sort of stuff off. And they realize that's just not really the person for them, or perhaps just with age and the new responsibilities from having kids, the relationship starts to fracture and break. You sort of hear this from some people where they talk about their partner and they're like, and you're like, do you even like this person? And the truth is they do, they love them, but more due to the flow of life than an intentional choice. And that affects them in other ways as well, like perhaps they think they're super sociable and friendly and getting friends is easy. They move and they can't make new friends, they're struggling to make new friends, and they've just kind of got to realise that that group of friends they left from where they originally were, they were just sort of people they grew up with. They weren't really sociable or super friendly, and they didn't really care about them particularly. It's just they only cared about them because they've been in their life for a long time, if that makes sense. So coasting in itself isn't a great thing. There is a silver lining in that you can be a lot more intentional with your life if you need to. Now obviously we all look at that first coasting group with jealousy. Most of them will turn out fine, but yeah, I'm just saying it's not all roses on that side. And lastly, therapy. Now, therapy for most people will look like CBT. I know we have pictures in movies and shows where people are on the couch and they're talking about their troubles, and a therapist will come out with some crazy, super philosophical take that like digs into their childhood and hits the right spot, and now they're all bad. Oh, for most people, therapy will look like CBT. Now, what that means is basically what I've tried to sort of push you towards here, where you look at what you're doing, analyze what the results are, and does that match what you expected? You know, so I'm not saying don't go to therapy. I'm just saying you can deploy the same ideals in your sort of day-to-day life and yourself. The main benefits of a therapist is to have a trained professional who can ask the right questions and try and dig to the right points, and guide you through CBT. But the basic ideas are things you can work on yourself. And for the spicier people out there, the people who need DBT, that's CBT, but adding in with tools to handle when you get emotionally dysregulated, when you need tools and help, and understanding that your emotions are fine because we're respecting where you came from, but there's also needs to be a bit of a detachment and understanding of what you're doing and why you're doing it, and perhaps there's healthier directions. I haven't done DBT myself, but from what I've researched, and I've had to research it a couple times now, that's roughly the idea. And again, now DBT is a lot more expensive than CBT, but I'm just saying you can deploy the same sort of tools sort of on your own. Maybe not to the same degree, but to some degree, and get some utility out of it if you trust yourself. And you probably should trust yourself a little bit more. Alright, back to the video, I guess. Alright. Okay. I don't really know how to end this. See, I'm in a weird spot where I'm trying to both give motivation to people, also accept that it's good if they're fine and happy, but also accept that they should also be going to therapy. And I'm just trying to give them motivation, not fix them. You know, it's a weird line to draw. I hope you accept that. I will be making videos on like common things people don't know, like how to set up stocks, how they work roughly, how to set up savings, how they work roughly, how to budget a little, things to consider like that. I might do some shorts on videos on like
like common phone calls you might make and what to expect the conversation to go like for like social anxiety people. But yeah, anyway, so like and subscribe. I'm Alfie. See ya. I just want to throw on to the end of this. The reason I'm making this video is partially to talk to myself, but it's also partially to speak to other people. So I've met a lot of people in my life with these issues where they hold themselves back and they have the low self-esteem. And I'm sitting there thinking they're great people. Like, these people are really strong and cool and like fantastic. And then you sort of hear what they think and you're like, holy fucking shit. How could you think this about yourself? You're a really strong person. You could basically do what you want. You just need to take things one step at a time. And that might be you. If other people in your life are saying these sort of things to you, chances are they might not be lying. Not everyone's a liar, right? That's one issue I have, is trying to speak to mentally ill people, is they are mentally ill. So they fucking listen, right? I've met a lot of these people who are great, but they hold themselves back for no fucking reason. Yeah. Maybe that's you, and maybe you should trust yourself just a little bit more. Anyway, I'm out. Bye.